Welcome to your Full Circle Friday. My name is Sara, a certified trauma recovery coach with Full Circle Wellspring. Trauma causes a disruption in our neural pathways and can halt survivors from staying connected to themselves, others, and the world around them. They can abandon or exile parts of themselves behind a wall of shame and fear. These episodes are dedicated toward understanding trauma and learning about outside resources, adjunctive services, recommendations, techniques, coping skills, and more to support and encourage the survivor on their journey back to their authentic selves. Let's get started. Today's topic is medication. So first thing to say here today is a disclaimer. I am not a physician or a medical provider. I am not recommending any kind of self-diagnosis or self-medication. I will never recommend trying anyone else's prescription drugs or the use of street drugs or any kind of illegal activity surrounding this topic. This is merely a base of information for trauma survivors and an attempt to help bring light to psychiatric issues as well as remove any stigma in discussing this. If you believe you have a diagnosable condition or need a psychiatric evaluation for medication, please contact your medical provider, therapist, health insurance company, or you can send me a message on the Connect tab of my website for more info or help pursuing this. With that said, this topic may be triggering or sensitive to certain listeners, so take care of yourself after this. Trauma has a number of after effects, including but not limited to relational, emotional, neurobiological, biological, physiosocial, sexual, intergenerational, and psychological. There is no way around this. Trauma changes you, inside and out. There is no way to tell whose trauma is going to wreak havoc on the body and get stuck in their GI tract, where someone else might suffer sleep issues. Another has structural changes to the brain, where another person becomes extremely avoidant of other people. And then some survivors have a psychiatric disorder or diagnosis. There is no shame in whatever happened to you because of your trauma. Your trauma or abuse was not your fault, not any of it in any way, shape, or form. What happened to you and then how your system responded to it is nothing to have a stigma about. A childhood abuse survivor may have hyper-aroused, overactive nervous system that ends up presenting after years and years as an autoimmune disorder. The truth of the matter is the body and the brain can only handle so much stress, traumatic events, and or abuse. You were not meant to go through what you went through. While some might have an autoimmune complication from their trauma, you may have a psychological complication from yours. It's as simple as that. So here, I can offer you support and encouragement to not be afraid or ashamed to ask your medical provider to get you the help that you may desperately need. Psychiatric issues like anxiety, depression, personality disorders, DID, bipolar, and OCD are all manageable chronic conditions. Finding a medication that works for you to help treat the symptoms while you work on therapeutic interventions, somatic treatments, and rewiring your brain is very important. And for some survivors, unashamedly, they may need to be on medication for the long haul. There is no right or wrong way to your care. We often talk about the proper regimen for each survivor. Something that may be a lifesaver to one may be a triggering intervention for another. There is no black and white answer to your situation. Each trauma survivor has their own needs. They have to make their own attempts at progress, and they will find their own path eventually. What we know to be true is that generally speaking, many psychiatric drugs take time to work, and also often take many tries to find the right match for each person. This is something we must be patient about, and it's also very normal to get discouraged from time to time during this process. Because trauma can alter the brain and damage the way the nervous system functions, mental health struggles are very common among survivors. Psychotropic medication can help untangle addictions, calm hyperactivity, improve depressive symptoms, regulate hormone levels in the brain, and normalize thought processes, etc., etc. It's also very important to add a disclaimer that psychotropic drugs can trigger or increase suicidal ideation. Please make sure you are totally honest with your medication provider about how you are feeling once you begin a new medication. Be truthful with all of your symptoms in your body and your mind, that the physicians can help weed out medications that may not be worth risking trying for you, as well as to increase the ability to help you find the medications that work best for your conditions. Please be sure to show up to each follow-up appointment and list any new or worsening symptoms. Talk with your therapist or coach if you're starting to feel unwell or are having any unpleasant side effects and/or are experiencing any suicidal ideation. The more professionals that are involved in your care, the more people who are able to help you in any crisis and to help you as you regulate on these medications. This episode is way too limited about all the things that a survivor needs to know about the psychological after effects from their trauma. This is just a basic overview to shed some light on what might be going on with you personally and where to start to get help. This can be very overwhelming if you've never yet formally been diagnosed with any psychiatric conditions. Please reach out to someone to start investigating this. If you do not have anyone, please send me a message on the Connect tab of my website, and I will try to resource you in any way I can. You are not alone, and there is help available for you. That I can promise. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of Trauma Survivorhood. This has been written and created by your host, Sara, a trauma recovery coach. For more info about me, trauma recovery resources, or to check out our support groups, classes, free survivor circles, private coaching, and more, visit www.fullcirclewellspring.com. Schedule a complimentary 20-minute discovery call to see if coaching is right for you. For the latest info on schedules and updates, follow us on Facebook at Full Circle Wellspring. All other media, social links, blogs, and show notes are posted in the episode guide below. Until next time, be well, survivors.